Can we talk? It's a little crazy right now, but I'm keeping myself busy with projects, and a couple of people have asked questions about our solar system, our battery charging system, all that kind of stuff. So I thought I would do a quick review on what we currently have, and for some of you it might be an update. Maybe for all of you, sometimes I forget to do an update video when things change, or sometimes I record the video and then never actually turn it into a video, which anyone else who has actually done YouTube content, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Let's start with our solar part of it. We have 6 solar panels currently, each at 325 watts, I believe, making for 1,950 watts total. Someone else check the math on me. And that works out pretty well. We have those broken up on the roof in 2 sets of 3 in between one of the air conditioners, but they're actually wired in 4 panels are on one string and controller, and then 2 are on the other, leaving room for 2 more panels to be added hopefully soon. And yeah, those go into 2 different charge controllers. They are the same, the 100 volt 50 amp Victron Blue Solar. Those are the ones without the Bluetooth module, and I'll get into later why we don't need the Bluetooth part of it. So that's solar. It works pretty well for us. It can pretty much run everything indefinitely for us except the air conditioners. And we'd probably need to double our solar to really kind of ditch a generator. But even then, if you run into those situations where it is warm, muggy, and cloudy, and no practical amount of solar is going to save you there. The one at beginning from this morning, maybe he can pull that off. I don't know. Then we have our battery bank, which is 6 Telecom AGM batteries. Each of these are 12 volts and rated at 185 amp hours at a 8-hour discharge rate. Most batteries are rated at 20-hour discharge rate. I've done the math on this, and at a 20-hour discharge rate, they're about 205 amp hours. So that's kind of how I figure it, because most of the time we are doing it at a slower rate. So we have 6 of those, and they're wired in 24 volts. So they're each, I have 3 sets of pairs, and that translates into 600 amp hours at 24 volts, which I like to use watt hours or kilowatt hours. So we're looking at 14 kilowatt hours of battery capacity if we went 100%, which AGM batteries, you do not want to do that, obviously. Actually, even lithium, whatever, you don't want to do that. Lowest I've gone on the road, I think, is about, I don't think we hit 30% before, but I think we've gone to 40%. When we did our Michigan loop trip, we went to 40% once. And if you charge up right away, I don't see that being a problem. What really degrades lead acid batteries is when they sit at a low state of charge for a long time. Then they start to sulfate. Here are the batteries. And these are the bus bars for how I connect them into 24 volt packs. So there's 3 of them there. And then this is my, where I connect them together with bus bars. I found this the best way to keep them all balanced. I've tried without that, and when we run high loads, the cells that are furthest away from the loads tend to not get used as much. So this has worked the best so far. Then I have some balance leads here, and those go up to the Victron battery balancer, and that works okay. It's not great. I plan on doing a capacity test here soon once it hits about 70 degrees, so be looking for that video. If you're curious, how are these holding up? And officially they only have about 16 cycles on them since we've owned them. We're not full-timers, so we don't use them a whole lot. Let's get on to inverters. How do we actually take that DC power and turn it into something usable that our refrigerator, which is behind me here, can use, or our TV or anything? Most of our use is actually AC use. So how do we turn the DC into AC? Well, that's called an inverter, and we use two of these. We use two Victron Multiplus inverters, 24 volt, which I'm told are a little bit more efficient than the 12 volt variety. I don't think it's much. It's probably is a little bit, because it starts at a little bit higher voltage where, you know, your 120 volt AC, it's got a long way to go, you know, at 12 volt, but 24, you're a little bit higher. So I think it makes sense to me anyway. And yeah, we run those in parallel. So we have about 6,000 kilovolt amps available to us. And they will start both of our air conditioners, no problem. I think I have a soft start capacitor in one of them, but it's not a big deal. And here are each of the Victron Multiplus inverters. And they are in networked operation currently. They're connected with a network cable down there. Wasn't too hard to get set up, but it does require a little trickery. So the nice thing about hybrid assist is it will take power when, let's say we're connected on 15 amps, but we need to use 30 amps of power for just making hot water for a little bit, or running the air conditioners just to cool it down. What it will do is it will take the shore power that it can get, and then it will take the rest from the battery, and it will drain the batteries down. But then once the load subsides, it will switch back over into normal mode and actually start charging the batteries back up in the night when we don't need to run the air conditioner and all that stuff. So that works really nice. Now, the last item that really makes spending all the money for Victron equipment make sense is the monitoring system that it has. I built my own out of a Raspberry Pi, and that's one thing I really like about Victron is they support open source. If you know what that means, basically it means they pretty much give you the source code to all their software and say, here, modify it, do whatever you want, make it better. And a lot of people do. You know, I think a lot of companies are scared to show how their proprietary systems work, but when people are passionate about a product or a certain field, like, they will work for free for you if you just give them a chance. And I think Victron has figured that out, and it makes the experience all that much better. So I was able to build my own system. Now, looking back on it now, I would probably buy a Venus GX, which is it's a monitoring system without a screen, and then I would just use a Raspberry Pi for just a screen. Because when you make a Raspberry Pi, you have to add a whole bunch of dongles and all this other crazy stuff, which is just insane. So in the end, I only saved maybe $100 or $200. But I did have the only touchscreen Venus OS device out there. Not the only one in the world, but Victron didn't sell one. Now, just recently, they came out with one. I believe it's called the Serbo GX. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure it's out there. Maybe some of you have seen it. This is my Venus device, Venus OS device. Same as a color control GX or anything like that, but ours is touchscreen. So what we're seeing is here is the inverter, AC loads, the fridge is running right now, battery bank situation, DC power, which is anything that's using DC, and the solar panels, what they're doing. And what's nice is, so I can go into any of the devices that I have hooked up here. I have the, that's the battery monitor, each of the charge controllers, the inverter system. I called it Mr. Fusion. If you're a Back to the Future fan, you get that. And then there's notifications and all kinds of settings and other stuff. Like in here, there is, what is there? You can connect a modem up to this, GPS, generator start stop, tank pumps, all kinds of stuff, relays. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. Let's go back one. Let's see, let's check on the invert. Oh, those notifications. The inverter, what you see here is really nice. Obviously, you get your state of charge. The switch states, you can actually turn it on and off from here. The input current limit, that's really nice. If we are at a someplace that won't let us take 30 amps, I can dial that down to, let's see here, yeah, I can dial that all the way down, I think to about 17 is as low as it'll let me go. Yeah, I can keep going lower, but because there's two, you can update. There we go. Yeah, 15.5 is the lowest it'll let me go, which is good enough. This is also really nice battery temperature, because this whole thing does battery temperature compensation charging, which lead acid batteries do need, as well as lithium. And it tells me my AC. Now, when I was having my generator problems, this came in handy because it told me what my volts are coming out, my watts, my amps, my hertz, all that stuff. It will really let you monitor the input power that's coming in. And there's all kinds of other stuff too. Oh, it's even got I don't use it all that much with the AGMs, but it will let you equalize the batteries. So that's pretty nice too. The other thing I spend a lot of time in is on the this is the battery management portion of it with the shunt and all that. So it's measuring in, amps out, all that stuff. This is something I really like. It gives me the top section and bottom section, so it does midpoint monitoring of my battery bank, because remember, I have two sets. That's really nice, just to let me know that they're not getting out of balance. It'll give me time to go, and that is time to 50%. So if I'm using, let's say, an air conditioner, it will tell me how long I have. Actually, I'm not going to do it right now. And there's also, this is kind of nice, the history. It will give me deepest discharge. That was probably when we went to, oh, I know, that was the last capacity test I did. Your average discharge, total cycles. See, I'm only at 16 cycles. But cumulative amp hours drawn, I mean, that's a lot of power. That's probably the more important number to know. That's how much power I've pulled out of the batteries. And minimum voltage, maximum voltage. This one was in the winter or just for a short time while I was messing around with something. Might have been when I installed the new alternator and I had to adjust it. And this is also really interesting. Really lets you know the inefficiency of AGM batteries or lead acid batteries in general. I've charged energy. I have 876 kilowatt hours. That's how much power I've put in. And I've got out 689 kilowatt hours. To me, that's somewhere around 80 to 75% efficient, which is not all that great. So you waste a lot of energy with the AGMs, or lead acid over lithium, but that's the choice we've made for now. Oop. Sorry, my hands are a little bit dirty. I've been doing some work. So, and then on the charge controller side, for each of these, it tells me what state it's in and all this kind of stuff. This is total yield, that's like lifetime. And you can get daily history on here, same as the you get with the app. It doesn't look quite as good, but you do get a whole website where you can see stuff, and maybe I'll show you a little bit about that. The other thing you get is you also get a couple of other views where, this one, if I had more things available, I would love to eventually monitor my tanks and turn it off and on the pump here and all kinds of other stuff. But I really like the look of this view. A lot of people do. for good measure. You can really tell kind of what's going on right now. And then this is the back of this right now. I'm still working on cleaning this up, but this is kind of what it looks like back here. There's a network port. I actually have a network inside my bus. One USB cord that goes to a USB hub down in the bay. And then I have just a flash drive on there that handles all the backups and data logging. And then this up here is the power cord. And it kind of keeps it all locked in there, and I can pop it out really easily by unhooking all this stuff, and it pretty much just pops right out. Eventually we'll get this rat's nest taken care of, but it's worked just fine as is.
So this is the Victron VRM system, as it's called. It's basically a place where all the data that your Venus GX device, so it could be a color control, Venus OS, or Venus GX, rather, or the new Serbo GX, whatever, or a Raspberry Pi. You don't even need a Raspberry Pi screen to get this data, actually. And so this is solar production, state of charge the last couple of days. What's kind of cool is you can go back as far back as you want, really. I mean, we can go, let's see the last year. And you see everything. Now this is, looks like by every couple of weeks. So I like to get a little more granular. And yeah, you get kind of the overview there. But then there's this whole advanced tab where you can get the total. Right now I have the total PV yield. So this is the last 2 days. You can see all these are together. This is each individual charger, what it's doing. So you can really tell how shading or partial shading is affecting a specific charger. You can see what your AC usage is like. And again, you can change that based on, whatever scale you want. This is the last 7 days now. You can reconfigure these any way you want. So we can even make that one bigger or whatever. Again, you get all the battery history there. This is pretty cool. I actually asked for this. I don't know if they made it just for me, but I wanted to track midpoint, my midpoint voltage over time, because I wanted to know if it was getting worse or better, because as you can see, mine is off just a little bit. And as you can see, here's another cool thing. You can drag like that to get in tighter, and you get a higher kind of resolution view here. But you can see earlier today, actually, is this today? Well, on the day of recording, I had a little bit of high deviation on my batteries, and I'm getting close to voltages I don't want my AGM batteries to see. I'm at 14.7. 14.8 is about the max. But then the other one at 14.36 is not really getting a full charge. And you can see eventually, as the current was held the same, they started to come together. And this black line is the deviation number. And this is genset time or AC in 1 time, whatever. All kinds of stuff. And you can kind of pick what you want. They have all the different widgets here. You can choose whichever ones you want, and these are just the ones that I have selected. So you kind of get to build your own advanced dashboard. And so here's another cool thing. You can also see the status on things. See the firmware version you're running, the remote LAN. Yeah, you can see you can see the firmware version, the Multiplus is on, all that cool stuff. But you also you can do firmware updates on all your Venus OS devices except the Multipluses from here. So you can do the BMV, battery monitor, and both chargers. I update them through here. It's so easy. The other cool thing you can do now is you can actually make VE configure files and upload them right through here to change your system in various ways. You don't even need VE configure anymore. You can just kind of have some setup files that you load, and that's pretty cool. Another nice thing that you can do is click on remote console here, and that will give you kind of like a screen share view into what is going on the screen on your Venus GX device. I keep saying Venus GX, I mean Venus OS. But again, if you're using a Raspberry Pi like me, you don't even need a physical screen. You can access it this way. Now it's a little slow for some reason this time, but once it loads all the assets, it goes pretty quickly, or goes pretty nice. And you should get the little animations here and all that, so you can kind of see which way power's flowing and all that. Yeah, you can interact with this same way as if you were right there, so that's really nice. I can check that at any time from my phone or whatever. As long as it has internet, you can interact with it. Another nice thing is you can have alarm logs. So we have had a couple of things. We had some over voltage alarms for a while. Sometimes that can happen if a AC, high voltage AC appliance stops very quickly. It'll be a problem. And so these are pretty much all the errors we've ever had going back to 2018. So that's just some of the things you can do with the VRM, and it is just so nice.
So back here at the back of the bus, the one thing I forgot to mention was we have another way to make power, which is this guy right here. This is the, behind me there, it's tough to see, is the alternator connected to our engine, which is no normal alternator. It's a beast. I'll tell you all about it here. So that's the alternator that I have recently replaced as of last year. That's why it looks so nice. It puts out 24 volts at 270 amps. That's, I think, we'll do the multiplying on that. I think over 6,500 watts of power. Now, I wouldn't recommend using that all the time, but we've come close. And it's done just fine. It's a gear-driven, oil-cooled, and these things are just a tank. They are made to run and run and run. I think the one we had might have been original equipment, and the bearings are still good on it. Everything's still good on it. I'll even show it to you. So this is the old one that I took out. I believe what happened to it was something wrong with the windings in it or something. But check out these bearings. They still, no play in that at all. Maybe it was rebuilt, I don't know. I mean, but it looks pretty darn old. So that's about it. If you have any other questions about our system, or if I forgot anything, feel free to put a comment down below. I can do a follow-up on any of these things. So thank you for listening to my rambling and all that sort of stuff, and we will see you next time.